All right, we're recording.
So the time is 6:06 on May 27, 2021, and I would like to call this meeting of the Human Relations Commission to order. In the interest of the public health and safety, and pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N-2920, members of the Human Relations Commission and staff are participating in this meeting by teleconference. In accordance with the executive order, the public may view this meeting online, but not at City Hall, Building A at 276 4th Avenue in Chula Vista. The city launched a virtual portal, e-comment, that allows residents to comment and participate in a meeting from their own homes. You can find the link to e-comment at www.chulavistaca.gov/virtual meetings. Your comments must be received before I call for a close of the commenting period in order to be considered. After the commenting period is closed, I will announce a brief to allow the commissioners time to read any comments that have been received. If you have difficulty or need assistance with e-comment during the meeting, please call 619-409-5927 and a human resources staff will assist you. Would the secretary please call the roll?
All right, Chair Martinez Montes,
Present.
Vice Chair Branch,
Present.
Commissioner Baber,
Present.
Commissioner Felix,
Present.
Commissioner Godinez,
Present.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Present.
Commissioner Kinayu,
Present.
Commissioner Lake,
Present.
Commissioner Medina,
Present.
and Commissioner Ratner.
Present.
So I'll move to public comment, which is a section on the agenda for members of the public to address the board on items that are not listed on the agenda. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow for the public to submit any final public comments. Commissioners, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new commissioners appear. And if we could get that link in the chat. Oh, perfect. Thank you. The commenting period for public comment is now closed. Have the commissioners had enough time to read the submitted comments? Secretary Ladron de Guevara, would you please announce for the record if we had any public comments?
We don't have any public comments or none through email either.
Thank you. So I see on my agenda, we're moving right into action items. Are we approving the consent calendar for last meeting? Or, yeah, the notes or agenda?
Yeah, it should. Yeah, it looks like it was consent calendar and then presentations and then public comments.
I don't have that in my agenda.
You got two agendas, Chair Martinez Montes. So there's one for the special meeting and one for the regular meeting.
Right.
So the first one that we just took the 2-minute break for was the consent calendar.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to pull that one up. Any commissioner comments on the consent calendar? Go ahead.
Me? I have comments on the minutes.
Go ahead, Commissioner Gutierrez.
Okay. On the first page, we have the present, absent, listed above, and we have roll call later. The roll call just says, Secretary, call the roll. Normally, the present and absent is identified with the roll call, not separate from it.
We would be happy to review that with the clerk and do it as they see fit.
Okay.
If it needs to be amended, we can do that. We'll check with the clerk.
Okay. And then for the consent calendar, you have the items underneath the vote. You would think we have the items before the vote.
We can also check with the clerk on that and move it if appropriate.
And then at the end, where the meeting was adjourned, it says it's adjourned. Normally it's adjourned to the next meeting.
We can amend that as well.
Okay, that's all.
A motion to approve the minutes and the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion.
With the amendments as if necessary.
Yep.
Thank you.
Do you have a second?
I second that motion.
Commissioner Branch,
Yes.
can we call the roll?
So Chair Martinez Montes,
Aye.
Vice Chair Branch,
Aye.
Commissioner Baber,
Aye.
Commissioner Felix,
Aye.
Commissioner Godinez,
Aye.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner Kinayu,
Aye.
Commissioner Lake,
Aye.
Commissioner Medina,
Aye.
Commissioner Ratner.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so that motion passes unanimously. Okay, so we'll move right into the first item on the agenda. Unless I just want
We
to
have a presentation. Yeah, item 4.1.
Yep. From the City of Chula Vista Housing Assistance Program. Or
Yes,
on
we
the-
have our housing manager, Leilani Hines, with us today. And Felipe, are you going to run the presentation?
Leilani says she would,
Oh,
but if she's having
perfect.
trouble, then I'll do it. No problem.
All right.
Hi, y'all.
Hi, Leilani.
Hi. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start sharing my screen for y'all. Let's see. Wrong screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So hopefully you all know about our emergency rent and utility assistance program. If you don't, we haven't been doing a good job of marketing this program. But in February of this year, Council approved participation and the receipt of federal funds from the Consolidated Appropriations Act to really help our residents out there who have been unable to pay rent or any of their basic living expenses in this past year due to COVID-19. So we're receiving funds from the federal government. We are also receiving the state share of that federal assistance level and to the tune of about $17 million. And so we are embarking on this with our community partner, who is SBCS, across the street from us here at City Hall, who have some experience in doing tenant-based rental assistance, and we have some experience doing tenant-based rental assistance, but nowhere near the capacity that our neighbors in the city of San Diego and the county of San Diego do with administering the Section 8 program. So it's a very similar type of program, but with a little bit less strings attached, but still some strings attached. So I'm going to go over what those include. So on March 15th, we launched our program. The program is a very heavily regulated program. It did require that this program be launched and be implemented through a web-based portal only. So applications are only being accepted via digital platform, and you can go to Chula Vista ERAP.com to apply. And South Bay Community Services also, though, is available for walk-ins and phone calls for those who aren't able to navigate kind of the digital platform and the application process. So to talk to you a little bit about the program and who's eligible, it really is for lower income residential renters only, with specific priorities. So the regulations, both state and federal, talk about 3 different levels of priority, from household types to eligible uses. So for the first priority, and what we did in the first month of accepting applications, is on March 15th, people hit the submit button, they applied. And in the first few months, what we did was we culled through all those applications to find that first priority group. And the first priority group is those households that are making less than 50% of the area median income, or lost a job within the last 90 days and have been unemployed for the last 90 days. And then this other priority was that they had back due rent. That was the first priority. We are just finishing up all of those applications that we've received that meet that first priority. To date, we've received just over 2,600 applications in the web portal. About 41% of those are in the priority 1 group, or about 1,100 applications. And so as of this week, we will have dispersed $1.5 million in that back rent or back utilities, to the tune of about 85% on back rent, and then 15% of that on utilities. We did decide to move up the utility arrears if they had rent arrears. So we're paying all arrears together, with the last priority being the future rent and utilities. We anticipate that we will start assisting those in the priority 2 and 3 rounds come probably about mid-June. We are hearing a lot from the community, questions and concerns to the effect of, I put in my application on March 15th when you said to, but I haven't been assisted. And part of the reason is a lot of people, just like with anything that's in high demand, there's an expectation that if I put in my application, if I'm the first person in line, that I will get assisted first. Unfortunately, because of the federal regulations on this program, it isn't on a first come, first served basis on the application, but it really is based upon priorities. So if you're hearing from any of your friends, family, or colleagues that haven't been assisted, I know I'm eligible, it's likely that they haven't fallen within that first priority group that we've been working on, but we hoped that in the coming month that we will start working on the next round of applications. So the program does focus on rent payments, and it also focuses on utility payments. We are by law, by the state program, only allowed to provide 80% of unpaid rent from April 2020 through March 2021. Anything for April and May and June, even though we're already here, is considered future rent payment. And the 80% rule was decided by the state in order to allow for and to spread that money at the time as far along as we could. And so in this instance, the landlord would have to forgive the remaining 20%, meaning they could not pursue any kind of legal action to get that 20% payment back. They would just have to forgive it. And then if a landlord's in a position where they say, hey, you know what, 80% is not enough. I want my full 100%. And so I'm going to go the route of small claims court and trying to get all of those rent payments paid back to me. In that case, the city then pays the tenant directly 25% of their unpaid rent. And that 25% is based upon SB 91, or the Tenant Protection Program that the governor of the state put in place. So by paying 25% of your unpaid rent, you are eligible to receive all those protections under SB 91. So that was a little bit of the rationale related to the 80%, 20% forgiveness, and 25% of future or not participating in the program, and then also future rent payments. The future rent payments are also limited to 25%. You all probably have been hearing the governor talk about his May budget revise and a proposal to pay 100% versus the 80%. That is merely a proposal. We need for the state legislator to actually make that the law. And that has yet to happen. We are hopeful that the state will make those changes so that we are able to pay 100% of back rents and 100% of future rents. And I think the rationale for why the state is going to 100% is because just again this year, out of the American Rescues Act, the city is also the recipient of additional rental money, as well as the state. So the feeling is that there's more money available. So instead of trying to serve as many people and spread the wealth by having these discounted formulas, now we can pay the full 100% because we do have more money to help in this program. But again, that has not been approved by the legislature, so we're still awaiting that. If it does turn out that the state changes their program, we will go back to any landlord who has received funding and pay the 100%. And then for a go-forward basis, also pay the 100%. So that's kind of where we are to date. There's also some confusion. I wanted to talk about our landing portal, or what we call ERAP San Diego. In the San Diego County area, only 3 jurisdictions receive this money. That's the city of Chula Vista to the tune of the 17 million, the city of San Diego at 88 million, and the county of San Diego at 101 million. Now, if you don't reside in the city of Chula Vista, maybe you're our neighbor to the north in National City, or maybe you live in Spring Valley or possibly Bonita, and you don't know if you live in Chula Vista or if you're actually in the county in the Bonita area, you can go to the erapsandiego.org website, type in your zip code, and it'll tell you which program you need to apply to. Many people are getting confused. They think that maybe if I can't get assistance to the city of Chula Vista, I will apply to the county of San Diego. It doesn't work that way. You have to apply in the jurisdiction in which you reside. If you apply to the county of San Diego, you will be denied and you'll get a nice email stating that you are outside of our jurisdiction. Please go to the city of Chula Vista and apply with them. So really trying to make sure that people are applying in the right program. We did at the beginning, because the county did launch their program ahead of us. We did have quite a number of people who applied through the county of San Diego, and then were told later down the road that they were not eligible, and then to apply to the city of Chula Vista. So we don't want folks to do that, and we hope that by providing this first landing page at erapsandiego.org, that people can understand and relate to which program or where they live and which program they should apply to. So if anyone is out there confused, particularly in our bordering areas, this is the right page to go to. With that, we have been coordinating with San Diego, with the county as well, to really try to provide a program from the application process, the web portal. We're all using the same vendor for our application. Our applications look and feel the same. We talk about issues that we come across. We talk about how we look at applications, so that whether you are a landlord or a landlord who maybe owns property in Chula Vista, but maybe also owns property in Spring Valley or Oceanside or in the city of San Diego, the responses that you're going to get are going to be the same. Whether it's from the city of San Diego or Chula Vista, the application, the web portal is all going to look the same. We really tried to work on the application so that it was intuitive, that it was easy, the documentation was not as stringent as many of some of our other bureaucratic programs can be. But we are still struggling. We are still trying to work with our community in understanding the program and understanding the documents that we require. And if there are problems with the digital divide and access to information and computers, that we're able to help them in uploading and scanning their documents. The application is a mobile application, so you can actually upload documents just via your telephone by taking a picture, etc. But for some, I know in the community, it's still a little difficult to navigate. So we are very lucky that South Bay Community Services, or SBCS, is our partner. It's very helpful when you have a community-based organization that's assisting you in this endeavor, because they understand day in and day out what our community goes through, whether it's rent, whether it's food, whether it's helping their kids with homework. And so there's a little bit more patience and understanding and willingness to keep on working and trying to get an applicant from point A of getting into the web portal all the way to submitting the button and uploading documents and getting, I'm successful in my application. So we're very happy to be partnering with a nonprofit like SBCS in this endeavor. So my last slide is really just to let you see where you can get information. You can go to the city's website, and if you do the chulavistaca.gov/tenant help, get all the information about the program, including our frequently asked questions, flyers to distribute or to send out to people. You will also get, let's see, for landlords, we also have frequently asked questions, a checklist for landlords, and even some application tutorials that will walk you through the application process. That information is also duplicated on the chulavistaerap.com website as well. So you can go to either website and apply. It'll take you directly to where you need to go. And again, while we know we're in this COVID environment and some people are still closed to the public, SBCS is not. They are taking walk-ins in their offices at 430 F Street. If people are not understanding the application, not understanding what documents they need, they can go there for direct assistance. They can also contact them and ask those questions. If you know anyone who's already applied and is wondering what's going on with my application, where am I in the process? Because it is a digital platform, they can go into the website 24/7, log in and find out exactly the status of their application and where they are, if documents are missing, if there's something that they still need to upload, or if their application is still on hold because it's priority 2. So with that really concludes my presentation, but I am open to hearing from you all, discussing with you all the program, and hearing any questions or concerns that you have yourself or that the community might have of you.
I have a question. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you so much, Leilani, for joining us this evening. It was very helpful. Go ahead, Commissioner Ratner.
Yes, I was wondering, is the application, do the tenants fill it out or does the landlord fill it out?
So it works both ways. And so that was one of the difficulties in implementing this program, was we actually had to develop a whole new software and application for this program. And it works both ways. And we are, so I didn't talk about our marketing. We are also working very hard at getting our landlords to start the process as well. So a landlord can go into the web portal, start to fill out an application, provide the tenant information, particularly the tenant email. Once the landlord has uploaded that information, the tenant will be contacted by email or telephone, whatever the landlord has provided us, and they will be asked or invited to participate in the program and to apply. But from that point forward, then it becomes the tenant's responsibility to say, okay, I'm going to participate. I voluntarily participate. I'm going to fill out the application. I'll load up my documents, because it's their documents and their information that determines whether or not they can participate and are eligible. Once they've gone through the process of giving us all the information we need to figure out, do they qualify and how much assistance should they be given, then it goes to the landlord. The landlord then verifies all of that information, says, yes, it's all correct. Yes, I'd like to participate. And then we can start the process of paying out a landlord. And the payment is sent electronically to our landlords directly. So then the tenant won't receive that unless the landlord says, no, I don't want to participate. I'd rather take my chances in court. That would be the only time in which the landlord would not receive the money. Lots of questions.
Yes, I see Commissioner Branch and then Commissioner Kinayu.
I basically have 2 questions. What percentage, or can you give me some idea to what extent the landlords will not participate? You know, so if a tenant initiated the application and the landlord didn't want to take the 80% versus trying to get the 100%. And my second question is the utility assistance just for renters, or is the utility assistance for homeowners? And is there a homeowners mortgage assistance program that the city has?
Sure. So in respect to landlord participation, I don't have the exact figures for you. I can't tell you, oh, it's 15%, it's 20%. It's very few. When we launched this program, we made great efforts and strides to talk to our landlord groups, whether it was the California Apartment Association, the Southern California Apartment Association, Pacific Southwest Association of Realtors. We talked to them all. And I think from the landlord community, what we were hearing from them was they wanted to participate because while it was only 80%, the time, the effort, and the risk of going through the court process or the small claims court process was not necessarily going to be worth it. The 20%, they may pay way more than the 20% in going through that process. And even then, they weren't assured that they would get all of that rent. So from that community, we really heard strongly that 80% was just fine. So I can't think of a case right now that we've dispersed where we've dispersed directly to a tenant because the landlord doesn't want to participate. We would also strongly suggest, again, if you all have contacts in the community, if you are owners yourselves, that we have a lot of folks who heard the governor's announcement of 100%. So they sit back and they're sitting on the fence and they're all, well, I want to wait for the 100%. And we're telling folks that 100% is not guaranteed because it's not part of the law yet. So don't sit on the fence. Go ahead and participate in the program. If we go to 100% of rent arrears, we will go back and pay everyone that we've already paid out. We'll go back and make up that difference, or whatever the state law at the time tells us we need to pay out. We will go back and do that. So we don't want landlords or residents thinking, oh, maybe I should wait until it goes to 100%. No, we say do it now while the funding is still there and we can get people paid, and to get that anxiety level of both parties down a bit. No one wants this weighing on their head. So we strongly encourage folks to do that. In terms of home ownership assistance, that is not anything that has been addressed in terms of direct assistance by the federal government nor the state. There have been issues addressed by lenders in terms of forbearance and allowing folks to kind of put in an application for forbearance and stretch out really their mortgage. There has not been any programs related to utility assistance either for homeowners. So the focus really has been more on the tenant side of the house. And that's primarily because it is our tenants who tend to be more lower income. Probably 70% of our renters in Chula Vista are of lower income, and they are paying a tremendous amount for rent. And so with those types of figures, I think the vulnerability of tenants is why both the federal and the state government has focused more on residential tenants or renters versus homeowners. But that's not to say that we don't have homeowners who have also struggled. Some homeowners who have never faced these types of trials in their lives, and now are faced with how do I make the mortgage? How do I pay the utilities? So we know that it's out there, but unfortunately that has not been a funding need that's been addressed.
Great,
Thank you. Commissioner Kinayu.
Hi. Thank you
Hi.
for being here. I have a question. It states on the webpage that landlords can begin to sue tenants for unpaid COVID-19 rental debt starting August 1st, 2021. So do you know the percentage of renters that apply that you turn away versus the amount that actually apply? And if they are turned away, do you guide them to another source where they can be assisted?
Yeah, so the first rate of ineligible is about 16%. So 16%, and because this is a digital platform, it's able to, once you say you answer a few questions, it'll automatically tell you that you're not eligible. And that might be because either you stated you don't live in the city of Chula Vista, you're a homeowner, or various other reasons that just real basic information. So that rate is about 16%, and it's dropping that was just at the first get-go. And then it's probably about 20% of the applicants who are ineligible in terms of income issues, or they have just decided not to follow through in the process and we give them reminders and then they just eventually drop out. So there's a number of them. We do, when we send out our email notifications and for the program, there is information related to the state's tenant protection programs and how to fill out that declaration form of a COVID hardship so that you get those, protections, and then as well pointing them into the resources that either SBCS has or that we might have.
Commissioner Ratner?
So my question then does relate to the income. What is the income? I know you said 50% of the mean income or something like that. What is that?
Sure. And it's actually, I say this income level and people kind of balk and they don't understand it's pretty high. So to be considered low income for a family of 4, it's $97,000 a year.
Are you kidding? Wow.
Yeah.
And
So
what about wow. Okay.
it is pretty high. And so folks need to know that there is help out there. And they may be thinking that it's not me, but it actually, 97,000 is pretty high. And when you look at who that encompasses, our admin support staff here at the city. It encompasses your entry level, either, in public teachers, people in the health industry. It encompasses quite a number of people. Anybody, I would say, that is at an entry level professional position is probably there, along with your retail workers, along with your waiters, etc. So it's a pretty high mark.
So the disqualifications are mainly like maybe they don't live in the city or they haven't provided the right documentation.
Yeah, or there are some folks who might be applying that maybe have higher incomes, but yeah, it's more likely that they don't have the hardship, they don't live in the city, or they haven't turned in the paperwork. We have a lot of folks that we also have a percentage of them that have signed up and registered in the web portal, but haven't completed the process. So there's a lot of people we think that maybe at the beginning thought, hey, let me look into this, let me see what this is all about, but then never followed through on the program.
So they can still apply then? It's still open to apply?
Absolutely, it's still open to apply. We have what we call ERAP 1 now, and we have ERAP 2. So we just received our funding allocation, the second funding round. So we anticipate that if we don't spend this money super quickly, like rapidly within the next few weeks, we'll have this program for the next year or so. Because we've got about $17 million this year. We've got just about the same amount for next year.
Thank you.
I did have a question, Leilani, in terms of in terms of the number of people. You said 1 million and change was the amount that's been dispersed. What does that translate into the number of people that have applied and successfully been given or awarded these funds?
Ooh, I cannot tell you that. I don't have those numbers with me. Yeah, I don't have those. Sorry, Commissioner. I can get those to you.
Okay, and then my follow-up question was, because of the fact that, essentially you get more bang for your buck, is that how you say, if you're a landlord, if you're applying, you mentioned you had already, done some outreach to the landlord associations or the, apartment associations. Beyond that, what have been the outreach efforts beyond, sort of what you see on social media? Our low income folks, we know, don't always have access to social media. So what does that work look like? And what is the thought as we are, as we're moving towards vaccination and, there's still some, vulnerable populations that, are sort of limited in terms of being able to leave their home. Like, is there an effort to go, door by door, because we've got $17 million that we need to get through? What are the thoughts to go beyond what we're doing now?
Absolutely. That I think all three jurisdictions are looking at that. How do we turn the leads into full submittals? We have done the typical marketing campaign with outreach through social media, of course, websites. We have, and that's inclusive of both the City of Chula Vista and SBCS. We have thrown those our flyers and our information out to social media ambassadors of Assemblywoman Gonzalez, Supervisor Vargas, Live Well, Southwestern College, the Latino Health Coalition, the school districts, and all of the utility providers. All of our information has been provided to their social media ambassadors. We've provided them with flyers and inserts that they can provide. So, for example, all of you should have seen some type of insert if you're receiving a utility bill, an insert or information on utility providers' newsletters related to this program. South SBCS is also working with other CBOs like the Community Collaborative and their resource centers, family health centers. I believe it's Scripps, and other CBOs to get information out to the clients that they serve, and to also be a place where people can upload and start application processes. So that if people feel comfortable, right, that they've been working with, say, the MAC project, and they're a client of the MAC or receiving services through MAC, that they can go through MAC to actually do the application. We just went out with some radio advertisements, both the County of San Diego and us. I can't tell you what radio stations, one Latino radio station, and then I want to say 92.5 here. And then the county also did a number of radio stations as well to give that information out. Flyers are being distributed at food distribution sites. You may have all heard about a June 20th event at Southwestern College related to food distribution. Our goal is to have staff available at that distribution event to assist with applications. So we're starting to move into that area of really being out there in the community and being more accessible based upon the COVID rules, and going out to places where there are already people gathered to assist them with applications. Hopefully that helps. I'm trying to think of I'm looking at all of our things, not just to landlords, but to residents as well. That was with Radio Amor 102.9, press coverage through them, press coverage through Fox 5, and just a multitude of flyers, particularly to the school districts.
Got it. This has been really helpful. I there's definitely a lot, I think, that, we can do amongst our networks. So it's helpful that you're here. And then, of course, this is recorded. And part of why, we're deciding to do these sort of sessions within this platform is so that folks can go back and look at the recording and get the information that they need. So we appreciate you being here. Any final questions from commissioners? If not, I'm going to open it. I see you, Commissioner Kina. You go ahead.
Sorry, this may be a ridiculous question, but does this apply to people that live in the senior mobile home parks as well?
Yes, so I did not mention that. Absolutely. And we have been in contact with our mobile home park owners, particularly because we don't see a lot of them applying. It actually applies to anyone who's living in a mobile home. It applies to anyone who's living in an apartment, a condo, a single family home. even if you're resigning in a motel and you've been there for a long time, you are considered a residential tenant. And so we will even look at providing assistance to those folks as well. So it applies to anyone who is paying rent, irregardless of what that structure is. More questions now.
Commissioner
more-
Brand?
I was wondering if there was a flyer that you have that could be emailed to us, and then I can just send it off to some people.
Absolutely. We've got flyers, FAQs, and we've got more smaller inserts that we've been using as well. They're all up on our website, and I will certainly send you all the link. And we are completely open as well. We really view our commissioners as active, engaged citizens of the community with a whole host of networking capabilities. And so you folks, we see you as our ambassadors. So please do go out there, talk to your friends, talk to your family members, to colleagues, folks that you know, and spread the word, not only about our program, but no one in the county of San Diego who needs rental assistance and is at that lower income level. Everyone should be able to access this program. There are dollars out there. The county and the city of San Diego have a tremendous amount of money out there, and they are looking for folks. So no one should be worrying about rent if they qualify for this program.
Okay, so thank you so much, Leilani. I'm not going to call for a 2-minute pause to allow for the public to submit any final comments on the item before, and there's not necessarily any deliberation, but commissioners, just a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. And again, thank you, Leilani, so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate being here.
And Leilani, if you want to send me that link, I can forward it to the commissioners.
Will do.
Thanks, Leilani.
We didn't have the screen for the 2 minutes, but are we?
10 seconds left. Yeah, I didn't realize it wasn't sharing, but it's almost over.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, 2 minutes are up.
Thank you. Secretary Ladonde Guevara, would you please announce for the record the number of comments received?
0 e-comments and 0 through email.
Any last minute questions or comments from the commissioners? If not, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is item 6.1 to formalize areas of interest for the 2021-2022
Chair Martinez
year.
Montes.
Yes.
I'm gonna interrupt. We do need to do public comments. Bottom of page 4.
You mean to open it up for public comment?
Yeah, for 2 minutes, just for public comments for the meeting before the action items.
Yeah, for anyone who might have comments for you on items that aren't on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had done that, but you're right. I think we did it for the consent calendar.
The consent calendar and the presentation, but we just have we have a general public comment. So we can start that timer for 2 minutes right now.
Okay, yes, and public comment is this section of the agenda for members of the public to address the board on items that are not listed on the agenda. So these 2 minutes will allow for the public to submit any final public comments. Commissioners, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear. The commenting period for public comments is now closed. Have commissioners had enough time to read the submitted comments? Would the secretary please announce for the record the number of comments received?
Received 1 e-comment and 0 via email.
Thank you. So we'll move into the next item on the agenda, which is item 6.1 to formalize the areas of interest for the 2021-2022 year and build our work plan.
So for the item tonight, what we've put together is the areas of focus that were discussed at the last meeting with the commission. But in review of kind of the past couple years, I know we focused on welcoming city, then we were shut down for COVID for the most part on things we could do. Felipe is going to bring up on the screen the areas that we were looking at our last meeting that were interested in the commission. But I was hoping that we would be able to either assign areas of focus to each of those things, or if there were different areas of focus for the topics. Felipe, if you can make the font bigger on that, sorry, or the view, like double what it is right now. Thank you. And if we want to do, assign commissioners of what that looks like going forward. I know you can see on the first one, the know your rights, interaction with law enforcement. That's something we've talked about a number of times. In preparing for this meeting, Simone offered to take on that for next month's meeting if the commission were so inclined. You know, he used to be a police officer and a city attorney at the city of San Diego doing prosecution. He also knows a number of defense attorneys. So he was going to work on that presentation if that were okay or were in line with what the commission had in mind, and it would be a kind of a jumping off place and see if we wanted to do something else going forward. And then there are the other topics that were listed in our discussion last month. So if we wanted, if the commission wanted to either flush those out or people wanted to volunteer to take them on, and maybe we could put some tentative dates in the future of when we could see those at the commission.
Yeah, thank you, Courtney. I see you, Commissioner Branch.
I just wanted to follow up on the I guess we'll say the offer of Attorney Simone to
Silva.
I'm sorry, Silva, to do something next month. Could you just maybe explain that a little bit more? Wait, would it be a presentation on different issues related to your rights? Or
Yeah, I think he was gonna, in his mind, he had been, you know, he had been assisting with this group as the conversations were happening around Know Your Rights in the past. So his understanding of that was, I think, getting a couple of people, different defense attorneys. I think he has his perspective from his time in different roles. And then I think he was also reaching out to the ACLU to see if they could bring someone to the meeting and just kind of have a dialogue of what that looked like. You know, if you're stopped by law enforcement, what are your rights? What are the practical implications that are behind those things? So I think that was where it was when we last discussed, when I last talked with him. And Glenn's feel free to jump in if I misstated anything, but that was our last conversation.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Commissioner Branch, as you know, I had offered in the past too, for whatever direction you guys ended up going, to provide support for this endeavor. But Simone is eminently qualified based on, as Courtney pointed out, previous employment and history with law enforcement, both as a prosecuting attorney in the city of San Diego, and with very, very good friends in the defense bar, right, to give the spectrum of kind of perspectives on that. Obviously, we have our police department, you know, standing by with a police department perspective, and our city, we're proud to say, has had a very good relationship with the ACLU over our years, certainly over my years, you know, here, and I'm confident we could get, and I was going to actually follow up with that, you know, a representative from the ACLU to lend their perspective. And I think the idea that Simone had, Courtney, and correct me if I'm wrong, is just to give almost an overview of the different perspectives, you know, for you, so that this commission could familiarize itself with kind of the lay of the land in the area. Obviously, it would be open to the public, for public to provide input, but it might be a jumping off point, you know, if you liked that or parts of it or not, or, and maybe not others, to have that be a more publicized, more conspicuous, more public leaning presentation along the lines, Commissioner Branch, that you were conceiving of in the first place, right? When we were looking at, hey, what could we do at Southwestern College? Could we do here or there? So I think it's both a substantive presentation in and of itself, but designed to give you a flavor and potentially a jumping off point of doing something further. I don't think I'm overcommitting Simone, because I think he was interested in doing both those things. So Courtney, that was my sense of it as well, to add that.
what I think that sounds good to me. It sounds like what we have been talking about and kind of got delayed because of the COVID changes. We had talked about having speakers coming from, you know, the different perspectives, more from the police / prosecution side, and, you know, defense / community member side, we'll say. So to me, that sounds good. I certainly would be interested in seeing what the other committee members think, but it sounds like a good stepping off point. And, you know, we can go from there and have additional speakers in the future if we feel like, you know, that event didn't cover all the things that we wanted to cover.
Yeah, so I don't know if I see any other commissions, but I think that, you know, it's a great idea. I think, again, part of what, you know, we've got this platform here with our meetings happening, you know, every, or the, on Thursdays, and so I think it's a really great opportunity to do a little bit of everything that we've been wanting to do. And so it's just, you know, this whole plan, you know, would give us a little bit more of that focus. And I think you're totally right, Commissioner Branch. If for whatever reason, you know, we can identify some gaps or areas that we should have, you know, we could be going more deep into, or more in depth into, I think, you know, this sort of allows for that. So I would be supportive of that. I know what others think. Oh, Commissioner Felix. And Commissioner Felix, you're on mute.
Sorry. During last city council meeting, I know there was some confusion as to the naming of Discover Elementary, and I don't want to speak for the commission, but I feel that that matter has been found not to be within our scope. So I think to further not cause confusion, maybe we can strike that, just because I believe that's a matter that the school board would have to take up, and just so that we can show that we clearly know what our scope is for the outside public, just so it doesn't cause no more confusion.
Any other thoughts? Yeah, any thoughts on that? Commissioner Medina?
Yeah, I just want to agree with Commissioner Felix on that as well. And I had kind of, yeah, definitely same sentiments as Commissioner Felix.
Would you like us to remove that from this list?
If possible, just because I'm sure this will be published somewhere, just so that the public can know that that's not within our scope, and there's probably no reason for it to be there.
Yeah, and what I would like to suggest, in not necessarily in place of the land acknowledgement, and you know, the issue with Discovery Park, but I think maybe if we broaden it out a bit more and we focus in on, you know, bringing some experts to discuss what, you know, what tribal sovereignty, tribal governments, you know, and the roles that we can play as allies. I think that would be maybe something that we could adjust to broaden out the scope. So I don't know, Commissioner Medina, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that.
Yeah, you know, I've been real mindful right now, just you know, this conversation about work plan, because I realize that that, you know, we still have some of our projects, right, for lack of a better word, that are still not all the way seen through. And so and I think there's still big and heavy lifts, and the work on the continued work with the statue and whatnot, and the task force, which we'll get to eventually. That all still needs to get walked through, and then also, you know, there's been conversations. I also know it's on our agenda around our work around ALPR, and with the police department, and audits, and our quarterly kind of reports. And so I just see those as huge lifts, right? If that's so, I almost am feeling like a little hesitant to add anything further, just because that's kind of how I see. However, I do agree with you, Chair Montes Martinez. I think that these are great ways for us to continue. There's been a lot of, I feel, developed relationships with the HRC and with our tribal communities. And I think that I would love to see that continue. I also know at the council meeting, council member Cardenas mentioned a land acknowledgement. And so maybe that's something as well that we all can, yeah, I would love to see all that still continue. I don't know how to word it, but I think that it's our continued work with tribal communities, including land acknowledgement and maybe it's events, maybe it's events, or even maybe it's partnering with the library. I don't know what it is at this point, but I think I agree with you in that sense that ongoing relationship and develop relationships with our tribal leadership, tribal communities, Kumeyaay communities.
Yeah, so maybe in terms of, go ahead. And I'm sorry, because we're sharing screen, I don't see everybody on the screen, so feel free to jump in.
This is Commissioner Ratner. I was the original staff at Discovery Elementary, and I helped write the charter for Discovery Elementary. I agree with it. I believe it being beyond our scope. The name of the school was never connected to Christopher Columbus. It's not named after a person, and the name in and of itself is not an offensive name. I saw on one of the agendas that the principal of the school that used to be called Junipero Serra mentioned something, it's not called Canyon Hills. And that I can see because it's named after a missionary that removed indigenous people. But the name Discovery itself has no negative connotation. And I can confirm that as a staff member, original staff member for 9 years at Discovery Charter, there was never a connection made with Christopher Columbus. So I don't think it should be on our plate.
Okay, yeah, so I agree with that. So I think it's been removed, but I think if we could, sort of stay on without diving too deep into what, I think we could, come up with topics, some areas of interest, and then assign a point person. So I'm happy, Commissioner, to, maybe it's tribal relations, and some of the areas of interest would be exploring land acknowledgement, following up on or the completion of, our endeavors with the statue of Christopher Columbus. And would you like to be point person on tribal relations, or I'm happy to do it as well?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, Commissioner Medina.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. You know what? I definitely would love to continue the work with the statue and just see all that through. But I don't mind working as a team. So maybe that's something we can both do.
Okay, I feel comfortable with that. So that's one. And we can model that for other areas. So in terms of the Know Your Rights, I know we had talked about, we've got the Know Your Rights in regards to policing. We also, part of why we had Leilani here today, was to hear a little bit about what the city was doing in terms of, protecting tenants, but it wasn't like so much focused on that. So I would be happy to also add in, under housing, Know Your Rights for tenants, and I can be the point person for that.
Okay, and I can have Felipe share the screen again. I'm going to be updating on my side so he can share right now, and then I'll show you the update once you guys as you keep talking, if that works for everyone.
That works. And then we've got LGBTQIA. So we've got two on there in terms of topics. So we've got or we've got Pride, and then we've also got LGBTQIA. So I'm wondering if maybe we could, in terms of the topic, be LGBTQIA, and then areas of interest would be at South Bay Pride. And, we can kind of continue to explore what else we could cover. I know we talked about branching or expanding, right? Like we all do, or at least when we were in person, we had gender pronouns, and we talked about the city incorporating that into their scope of work. So that could go as part of, sort of that piece of work. And I don't know if any of you are interested in sort of helping us anchor that piece of the work.
Sorry, I do have a question, maybe for Courtney. Is the, do you know if the city is planning on doing a flag ceremony this year as well, now that some of the restrictions are going to be lifted?
We have discussed raising the flag like we've done, and I think we've done it both in June and September because of South Bay Pride versus just kind of when San Diego does it as well. There has not been discussion of an event yet because none of the restrictions haven't been lifted yet, so we have not discussed an event at this point in time.
Yeah.
But it is on our radar.
We can add that as an area of interest under LGBTQIA. And then I don't know if
Can I get clarification on that really quick? Because South Bay Pride, I believe, takes place in September, if I'm remembering correctly, on the date. So are you, just so I understand the request, is it for the National Pride Month or for South Bay Pride Day that you would be interested in the flag raising ceremony?
I think South Bay Pride only because it's unique to our city that we have that particular event during that time. I mean, Prides nationwide they start from May all the way to September. I think Palm Springs does theirs in September. It's just unique to the city and to the city culture. So I think that it's nice that Chula Vista has its own, date aside from, San Diego. So I think the later date is nice just to show that that's ours, Chula Vista's, kind of thing instead of just kind of going by way the, San Diego does it.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Felix, are you volunteering to be the assigned commissioner for LGBTQIA? And I also know Commissioner Kinayu has done work on SD or South Bay Pride.
Yeah. I can if I could work with Commissioner Kinayu. She also has some great contacts with South Bay Pride, and I know she's heavily involved. So yeah, I mean, I would love to do it in conjunction with her if possible, if she's interested.
Courtney, do we not raise the LGBTQ flag for Pride Month and leave it up for the entire month?
We have done both. So it's been a little inconsistent with which one we've looked at, but this year there's been discussion of month and September for weekend.
Okay. And just for everybody's benefit, there's no guarantee that South Bay Pride will be in September this year. There's a issue with the date, but it will probably be either late August or late September at this point. They're still finalizing it.
Would it make sense for us if there's a lot happening on, to kind of go all the way through HRC meetings, so LGBTQIA, would we want to discuss that Agosto, Septiembre? Would we want to discuss that in August? Agendize something for the LGBT community in August so that we would be ready for September? Would that make sense potentially?
Well, that depends on if it's going to be in August because our meeting is the 4th Thursday of the month. So it's possible that our meeting would be after it if it's made on the 3rd week. So until we have a finalized date, I can't imagine that we have any kind of verification. We could probably have a discussion like that during Pride Month. So June.
Yeah. Okay.
And commit not to get too detailed, but Commissioner, if we can also maybe in conjunction with all those events, also talk to the South Bay Youth Center if the youth want to do something that is South Bay focused. That might be great too, and we can work with them do some, because I know that San Diego Pride has a youth program, and they do their own kind of, you know, youth thing, but you know, they can.
Yeah, that's good. But are you all kind of seeing where we're going with this? You know, we have a topic, we've got areas of interest. We, you know, kind of think about commissioners who are point on this, and then we start thinking about what month we would be bringing it forward, so that we begin, you know, so that we can essentially begin to formulate agendas with enough time in advance. It helps, you know, in terms of outreach. You know, so staff is aware of what's happening, and then we're also able to kind of focus in on that a bit more. So in terms of API and support for the API community, I think under areas of interest, Courtney, if you could also add in, I know we've talked about having that we've talked about not having API representation on the HRC. So I think that would be an area of interest of discussion.
Okay. And that isn't the item that we have agendized later in this meeting, so maybe we can flesh the rest of that item out in our next topic. And the same with the ALPR, because we have that also on the agenda this evening.
Okay. On qualified electorate, I mean, 2022 is coming, and you know, this was us making the recommendation to council to change the restrictions that are currently part of the charter, that don't allow anybody that isn't registered to vote to serve on a border commission. So I would be happy to be the point person on that and track it, and you know, work with Courtney to bring any updates as they come.
So the next one that we have listed on there are I've redone mine a little bit since this, but the housing policies. So we had the presentation tonight. I've moved to Know Your Rights, housing for tenants for the chair to be responsible for. Is there anything else we'd like to address with housing policies? Commissioner Keating, you has your hand
Go
up.
ahead.
I don't know what scope this was intended for. I didn't submit this, but I'd like to see how the city handles, there's issues right now with the senior mobile home parks and the treatment that the seniors are receiving during COVID, how some of them are being some of them are being evicted for things that they cannot control, things that they cannot fix because there's nobody available during COVID in order to fix this. Or make improvements on their homes. So if that's something that we could bring up or take on, I'd appreciate it. If it's something that we want to give to perhaps the Mobile Rental Home Commission or team up with them, I'm welcome to that too.
Any other topics of discussion or anything that you all want to see reflected in the topics that aren't here? Or on the topics that are here, would any of you like to be the assigned commissioner for this? We definitely need a point person to kind of help connect Courtney and I to the right folks to bring items forward on the agenda. So we just need to, you know, have one of you help us make those connections.
I have a question. Excuse me. I have a question. Whatever happened to getting a youth commission?
The youth commission has not restarted, is my understanding at this point, but as soon as they are restarted, we will have a liaison on this group.
Okay, thank you.
I guess you can't, I'm interested in the anti-hate stance and ways to engage. And I mean, I see that can be connected also for the support for the AAPI community. And you know, and right now we've even had not so I haven't heard any, thank goodness, in Chula Vista, but the rise of anti-Semitic incidents, and it seems that with different things that are going on in our world and how people react, that this is an issue that definitely I'd be interested to work on, anti-hate against any group.
That's great. Thank you, Commissioner Ratner.
This is Commissioner Lake, and I've been working on AAPI, so I don't mind being the assigned commissioner.
This is Commissioner Godinez. I would also like to assist Commissioner Ratner on the anti-hate stance and ways to engage.
Okay, I think.
Oh, go ahead, Courtney.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, in terms of the public engagement and communication, this has been, you know, a hot topic of discussion, especially around ALPR. And, you know, as we move to in person, it may not be, you know, some of the same issues may not be, you know, of the same concern, but I do remember us doing a lot of work on, you know, making sure that agendas were translated and, you know, language accessibility, public engagement, and communication, I think would be, you know, kind of going hand in hand. Would anybody like to help lead on those efforts?
Madam Chair, I'm interested in language access. Especially, I was actually just on the city's website before we went on, and I noticed that none of the licensing, you know, under the business section, if a resident wants to apply for a business license or even an at-home business license, they're all in English, and I didn't see any Spanish forms. So maybe, and maybe there is some, but there wasn't any online. So, you know, I'll be definitely interested in something like that.
Perfect, thank you. And then on Commissioner Branch, go ahead.
This kind of falls under Know Your Rights and ALPR, but I guess periodically I would like for us to have an opportunity to talk to the police department about things that are just going on, and in this environment where different jurisdictions are reimagining police resources and how we perhaps can make some adjustments to that. I would like to just have an opportunity to stay in touch with them about things. So I can be the point person, and maybe it can be kind of a know your rights / police, I don't know, conversation section.
So maybe instead of know your rights on the topic, maybe it's, you know, either public safety or policing.
Yeah, that sounds good, policing.
And we do have that as a quarterly topic. We are discussing that more this evening, so maybe we can flesh it out during item 6.3.
Okay.
And then I think the last thing on this list that we don't have anybody on would be, you know, continued engagement with the immigrant community. Would anybody like to volunteer to help spearhead that? I'm happy to do it if no one else.
Can you elaborate? What would that entail or look like? I mean, I think I'd be interested. What kind of things are we thinking about? Or is that what we need to get together about?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's part of, you know, the reason why our commission came together was because of the anti-immigrant rhetoric that was happening in, you know, in 2016. I'm all jumbled with my dates, but that was what, that was sort of the impetus for when we came together. I think there's a lot happening in the immigrant rights space. We've got people seeking asylum in our region. There's the county is bringing forward an Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. So I think those types of things are important for us to kind of keep track of, and so I'm happy to do that with you, Commissioner Ratner, if you're interested.
Yes, I would be.
Okay. So how does that look on your end, Courtney?
It looks good. I think the only thing I don't have a name for, it says we have it public engagement and improving communication, but we also have public engagement, communication with language accessibility and business licenses. So maybe that covers the area of focus for now, if that works with Commissioner Felix.
Yeah.
Yes, that works.
I think we're good. And then maybe after our two topics tonight, regarding ALPR and the AAPI community, along with public safety, we can finalize this and we'll send it out to the commissioners. And I think what would be helpful for future meetings, if commissioners know a month they would like to take it, we could fill that in to fill in the timing for future agenda meetings. It would be helpful. If that works for everyone. Do you want to go to public comment?
Yes. So let's go to public comment. I'll call for a 2-minute pause to allow for the public to submit any final comment on this item before full commission deliberations. Commissioners, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear.
Two minutes are up.
Thank you. So I don't think we need to take a vote on this. Is that right, Courtney?
That is correct. I believe I have consensus from the group on what the areas we need.
Okay, great. And just for the record, the commenting period for this item is closed. And for the record, Secretary Ladonde Rivera, would you please announce for the record the number of comments received on this item?
There were no comments received.
Got it. Okay, well, if there are any final thoughts on this?
Madam
Was this
Chair,
helpful? Go ahead.
I was able, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
No,
I
go
was
ahead.
able to text with Deputy City Attorney Silva during your discussion on some of the other items, and he is planning on being available for your meeting at the end of June. I think it's June 24th meeting. I may not be back from a trip that I have, but we'll try to be back for that because I'm interested in hearing it as well. But no matter what, Simone will be here with a defense counsel colleague, you know, of his. I don't know that we're going to have PD be part of the presentation, but certainly they aren't available to answer questions, you know, so it's not driven by them and their perspective was the thinking. And then if we can secure an ACLU representative, we'll endeavor to have them as part of the panel as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay,
And
thank you very
in
much.
the meantime, Councilmember Branch, if you're open to that, Simone, with you and or your committee, Mr. Silva could reach out to you and interact with you on any ideas he might have or input that might be appropriate for you to provide leading up to that.
I think it would be great if I or the subcommittee could meet or just have a brief conversation with him before that meeting to just go over what his ideas are, and you know, we can add to it or adjust as we feel comfortable.
Perfect. That I will encourage him to do that. I know we've got your contact info.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is 6.2, Commission discussion and possible action on ways to support the AAPI community. And this is an item that we brought forward as a result of the anti-Asian sentiment that had been and has been happening since, you know, the very start of COVID. And so I don't think that we have a presentation from staff on this. Is that right, Courtney?
That is correct.
So we just wanted to open it up for us to discuss and think about ways that, you know, our commission could be more supportive. There's a big, you know, Chula Vista is diverse, and Chula Vista includes a lot of different Asian communities and populations. And so it's only right that we would, you know, bring this forward and do right. Commissioner Lake, go ahead.
Thank you. I did start to research other resolutions that have passed in other California cities, just to kind of get an idea of what's happening in California as a basis, and kind of started a draft of a resolution condemning and combating racism, xenophobia, and intolerance against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. But and I do want to acknowledge that I understand, and I was trying to find the exact resolution that was adopted, but that the City Council did adopt a resolution making May 2021 officially Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. But I guess I wanted to understand what we wanted to do, like what we want City Council to resolve to do. The example that I pulled up was Section 1, that the mayor and City Council would hereby condemn and combat racism, xenophobia, and intolerance against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. Section 2 would be something to the effect of the mayor and the City Council will work with the AAPI community partners in support of data gathering that is culturally appropriate, and to acknowledge the systemic barriers to reporting hate crimes impacting AAPIs. And I think these resolutions were specifically, I think, to really look at the fact that crimes are occurring. Crimes have not been acknowledged as hate crimes. And why is that? And I think people I think there's an inherent understanding of why that is, but what can the city do to encourage the reporting, and also then what? So I think it was the data gathering that was really important. Data gathering was really important in this resolution. And then the third section would be for this city was mayor and city council will jointly work together with members of the AAPI community to develop tangible community-led solutions through the city's racial equity initiative that acknowledge the experiences of AAPI residents, root out systemic racism, and uplift racial solidarity. And so I guess I'm wondering or is this meeting right now the appropriate place for us to decide as a commission what we want to accomplish first? And then will the subcommittee then have the ability to kind of, with that goal in mind, figure out, do we want a resolution? Do we want some other type of city council action? What is the next step? So I guess that's the direction I feel like I'm looking for. And I just volunteered to kind of act as a leader. So that's where I'm going. I don't know about anybody else.
Thank you, Commissioner Lake, and thank you for putting in the work to begin to give this a bit more direction. Any thoughts on what Commissioner Lake just shared? Commissioner Ratner?
So yes, I understand it's specific to the AAPI, and I know even, President Biden came out with a statement specific to the AAPI, but it seems so limiting. Why can't we include any group that's being subjected to hate? Because there are whether it's immigrants, whether it's people of color, whether it's anti-Semitism, whether it's anything like that. Though everything that Commissioner Lake mentioned is applicable to any minority that is experiencing hate crimes.
I mean, I think the intent behind so there's a lot of our groups face discrimination and different acts of intolerance. In this case, and I really do hope and wish that we move to ensure that we've got an AAPI voice on our commission. But what's been happening with the AAPI community because of COVID, I think is something that we should address, right? So I think at this moment it's very similar to why we uplift Black lives when we do, because it's important to ensure that the individual groups that we acknowledge what's happening to the individual groups. And I think in this case, I do agree with Commissioner Lake in being able to denounce anti-API hate. I think that sends a loud message, and that shows that we're not going to stand silent to the injustices that are happening to them because of ignorance and hate that was coming out of many places, but primarily or being instigated by the previous president. So I think that's part of why API at this time.
Thank you. That makes sense.
If I could make a comment, just Commissioner Lake, I know spent a lot of time on this resolution. I think the question from staff would be the resolutions as they're written, I think ask council to do things that they would probably put back on this commission or request this commission to look into further. So I don't know if it's things that this commission would want to flesh out further and then take that to council, or what that would look like. And Glenn, I don't know if you have an opinion on that. Or if it's a resolution for the commission to do these things and then go to council.
Yeah, the commission can certainly recommend to the council that the council adopt a resolution, right? You guys know that, you've done that before. But you definitely want to be mindful of the kinds of things you're asking, them to do. And I think Courtney makes a good point. Some of that they would turn back to you and ask you to implement, for them. Or general words in a resolution you might make, like combat, for example. They'll want to know what that means, and so some specifics for what you're expecting from them and what you're proposing, to do yourselves, I think are worth building into any resolution that you ultimately tender to them. Particular resolution now in front of me, I know I was given a draft and provided some input along those lines, but certainly you guys could either take up the specifics of that tonight or refer it back to your, if you decide to proceed with a resolution, refer it back to your subcommittee for refinement.
Yeah, so, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, can you go over some of the other ideas or thoughts that you may have had after seeing the draft resolution that I had drafted, because I believe that there was a discussion. I just can't remember the specifics of what else we could do. I think it's great they did the Asian American Pacific American Heritage Month of May 2021, but I don't believe that this commission believes that that's enough. And so I just want to, what other ideas are there?
I would like to suggest, I agree. I think, us, making a recommendation of adopting a resolution is, sort of a good approach. I would also like to, I would not want, and I don't think that we can adopt anything today, but I would want to engage with our API community before, we take a formal vote on something. I think, the SDAPI coalition would be a good start. They're a coalition of over 30 something organizations, Asian or API-led organizations for input, so that they can tell us, this is, the language that you've got there is right. And these are the types of things that we would like to see. And I think there would be some benefit to also, because there was a resolution that was passed in the city of San Diego. The county Chair Fletcher and Vice Chair Vargas also passed a resolution at the county level. And so, I think there would be a benefit to making sure that we are able to tailor it a bit more to the South Bay. And so that would just be, my initial suggestion. Commissioner Branch?
I was thinking the exact same thing about having us communicate with people in the in that community, so that I feel like I don't want to presume and perhaps don't have a full understanding about what are some of the issues that they're facing. So I was wondering if we could have some representative or some people from the AAPI community come to the next meeting and tell us, as well as the public, about what's been happening, what is concerns, and what things that might be helpful are.
But I like that idea of having, oh, go ahead, Commissioner Felix.
Also, maybe get the element from law enforcement as well, maybe members from the department, to see how they're reporting these hate crimes, and also what type of community engagement is going on to not only prevent these hate crimes, but also to encourage the reporting of these hate crimes when they do occur. I don't know, maybe if they have a special liaison member with members of that community, because based on what I've read, I know that sometimes some of these crimes do go unreported. So maybe we can get a picture of what has been reported and what's being done.
Would that be a question to the police department, or would that be a question to the DA? Is it the DA that determines what a hate crime is, or is it the police department?
Maybe Mr. City Attorney, he would have a better understanding of that.
Yeah, I think the police department keeps a record of what they might characterize as hate crimes, but ultimately the determination of whether or not something is prosecuted as a hate crime is in the discretion of the DA. So there might be different measures of that, right, depending upon how the crime was reported and how it ultimately was prosecuted. And if we've got a police representative here tonight, I'm not sure that we do. They'd probably have a better sense of that. Looks like we don't. We'll Commissioner Felix, I'll probe that a little bit further and make sure we've got that information for you, hopefully before the next meeting, but by no later than the next meeting.
Thank you.
Commissioner Q.
I saw a wonderful presentation on the uptick in hate crimes against the AAPI community, the history behind it, and some of the resources that they use and how they're put together, from the vice chair of the San Diego Asian Pacific Islander Coalition. And I can invite them if the committee is okay with that. It's a presentation they've been giving all over San Diego to different organizations. It's wonderful. It's really enlightening, and it provides resources. So if you want to learn more, or if you want to assist them, it's presented at the end.
So in terms of next steps, Commissioner, what do you feel comfortable? How do you feel comfortable proceeding?
Well, I know we have a subcommittee, so I was thinking of listing all of the suggestions tonight, and processing that through the subcommittee as to who can be responsible, or who can reach out, or what our next steps are. But I like all of the suggestions, because I do think that understanding what our community is doing, what the needs are, and how we can bridge that gap is exactly what we're here for. So that's what I think we need to do. Those 3 steps in order. And so I'm not sure what to do exactly for the next meeting, but I think we need to start this and perhaps come back as an update as a subcommittee next time, and not officially put anything on the agenda for like resolution or voting, but I'd like to update this commission at the next meeting.
Okay, that sounds great. And I think in the recommendations, and I think you probably already have it down, but I don't know, how could we recommend to the council or to the mayor as they're looking through HRC applications, because I know that we've got some vacancies, to make sure that they focus in?
I've had that conversation already with the mayor's office. And they are.
Okay, good. Okay, so is this a good place to stop for, oh, go ahead. Is this a good place to stop for 2 minutes of
Public comment?
yes.
Yes, we can do that now.
Sorry, just before we do that, so then the next thing would be put this back onto the agenda next time as for an update from the subcommittee.
Yes, I'll have it on the June meeting for an update for the subcommittee, and then it'll also, I put it, we'll leave the areas for some of it blank in the work plan as well, so that it can be updated at the next meeting.
I keep calling it subcommittee, but maybe I mean ad hoc. I'm not sure what I mean.
I know it's interchangeable to me, but Glenn knows the difference. Maybe you can educate us during our 2-minute public comment period that we're going to start right now.
Yes, you are an ad hoc subcommittee, but a kind of subcommittee too, but you are ad hoc. And I did, while you were discussing wrapping this item up, text the chief and inquire regarding hate crime reporting and prosecutions, and she's working on getting that information, and we'll have it as early as tomorrow, it sounds like, so we can communicate that to the information of that's public, we'll communicate to the group. And I believe it's all public.
Two minutes are up.
Thank you. So the commenting period for this item is now closed. Commissioners, have you had enough time to read the submitted comments? Secretary Ladron de Guevara, would you please announce for the record the number of comments received in favor or opposition of this item?
There was one comment, well, two, but from the same person received for this item, and 0 via email.
Got it. Thank you. So if there's no other final comments, we can move on to the next item on the agenda. Commissioner Ratner, did you have a comment? You're on mute.
Just to respond to the comment, the suggestion, we'll put kind of a link to the Asian, go back and look at AJ, Asian American Justice or something, whatever the, you know, what the, so we acknowledge the comment was made. And is that something that we might want to do, is do something like that to link to that?
Consider, you mean to consider the suggestion to put something on the website? Yeah, so I think Commissioner Lake, if you could take that back to the subcommittee for consideration as part of the, you know, resolution or whatever we decide to bring forward.
Yes, I've already written it down. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is discuss police quarterly reporting to the Human Relations Commission, including automatic license plate reader program. Do we have a presentation from staff?
We do not have a presentation. This is an item that we put on the meeting at the request of the commission from last month. So there could be some additional conversation based on the actions taken by council and some of the actions that they took about reporting quarterly to the Human Relations Commission. So this is your time for discussion.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, Commissioner Medina, you raised some concerns about, what regarding the our capacity and our area of expertise on being able to, sort of weigh in a thoughtful way on what the city has been doing. And we did receive a comment in this meeting about the, continued frustration from community members on the city's sort of process and reaction to the pushback from them. And so I don't know if you want to, sort of kick us off.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, a lot of my thoughts and reflections were that in a matter of a couple months, I had a massive amount of learning to do in regards to ALPR, in regards to technology, data sharing technology, these kind of camera systems. It was a lot, it was a lot, and it was extremely overwhelming. And I felt like there was still tons of questions in relation to, for an example, to like, well, what's a sufficient or an efficient number of cameras that our department needs, and just looking at data, and just really being mindful of evidence-based practices. And I just felt incredibly concerned when when the police department put together some recommendations, and our Human Relations Commission came down to one that was more specific, that we would be a body that would be quarterly reported, the body actually, that would be reported to around ALPR. I kind of felt it and sensed it. The wording, the language is not being used as we're an oversight. But I felt like we in I 7 points, we're the we're the body that's going to listen and vet AOPR and the work. And I just still have a tremendous amount of concerns around not only our capacity to prepare for those meetings, but the amount of understanding that goes into being able to ask the right questions, being able to really look at data and to look at it through the lens around being an accountable body to it. So I know for me, I'm still learning, and I also felt like in those 3 months felt very concerned about the amount of time that was required. Quarterly is a lot for our group to be involved in hearing and providing suggestions and recommendations. So I know a lot of this is coming from my own personal, but I'll tell you this is that I think we have to. I'm going to make a statement that is an opinion, but I think we need to be honest in all of ourselves with us as how much time do we really truly have individually to commit to all of these initiatives and various initiatives on top of doing something related to the AOPR. I believe that it's, and I'll end with this. Listening to a presentation is one thing. Being accountable to preparing for that presentation and being accountable to prepping with questions and looking at data, and then also following up those presentations with dialogue with the community, dialogue with engaging. I just feel like it's tremendous. It's a tremendous load. I also communicated this to council personally on my opinion, a big concern that I had. However, it's still on our plate. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm very open and eager to hear what my colleagues have to share about this as well.
Thoughts? So Commissioner Branch and Commissioner Kinayu.
I guess I am a little bit concerned about being designated the main group or commission to provide oversight of that program. Feeling similar to Commissioner Medina, perhaps it's not having the technological background we need. Also, in terms of these quarterly meetings, there's other issues. There are a number of other issues that I would like us to also communicate or question the police about. So I also want those items to get the attention that they need as well. So I guess I'm just supporting the idea that perhaps we not be the main group that they report to on that matter, the ALPR matter.
Commissioner Kinayu.
I echo both Commissioner Branch and Commissioner Medina's sentiments. I feel that this is better suited maybe for the Civil Service Commission or to be put forth through City Council itself so that the people who had the original concerns can voice their own concerns. I feel that that's where it should be negated, is in the community. I feel there's a lot of community members that brought a lot of themselves and put in a lot of effort to voice up, and we just don't have that capacity to speak on their behalf. There's a lot of concerns that they brought up that were different from something that I would personally see. I've seen the ALPR. I've actually worked with it before, so I'm familiar with the system itself because it's been in law enforcement for a while. And I've since been in the police department. They've walked us through the process, but I still don't feel comfortable voicing the concerns for the community members that came forth.
And I think, you know, I agree with you all. I think part of my question, and I don't know if Glenn or Courtney, you could give us a little bit more insight, you know, if we are the body that this is being reported to, without us being, without us having a, you know, our body does not only advises the council. And so, you know, beyond folks coming to us, you know, hearing their reports and then coming to us and raising concerns, you know, what is sort of the vision behind us being the entity that would sort of funnel the concerns, and how we would then utilize that to talk to or advise the council.
Sure, and Glenn can jump in, or he can jump ahead of me, Glenn, if you want. There were a number of actions taken by council that night, and Commissioner Medina did speak, you know, on his perspective of what that looked like. And there was an amendment by Councilmember Padilla as to what additional review of things going in the department would look like with members of the community. A part of that, in talking with the department ahead of time, because I think they did hear what Commissioner Medina, what he expressed here of, you know, giving a presentation isn't co-signing, I'm going to use my own words, on what's happening within the department. But they are working on a number of public reports and making that open to the public. They were, in talking to Captain Thunberg, working on presenting that information and putting it together quarterly, which is something they could provide to the commission and then answer any other questions that you have. But I think I wouldn't call it a full review of the program, is my understanding of what was being asked of the commission, but a presentation on what's going on, where things can be fleshed out. But there are putting other things in place. So Glenn, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I apologize. I was obviously part of that and helped probably even modify it. section of it or two, but I don't have it in front of me. I don't remember you all being designated as any kind of oversight or review board for that. I'm sure you were mentioned fondly, as an appropriate board to provide input, on oversight matters generally. But Commissioner Medina, maybe you've got a different sense or recollection, but I apologize, I just don't have it right in front of me as to the actual words that came out of that. But I certainly understand and sympathize with, because it's a very complicated area, with all of your thoughts and your hesitancy, right, to be any kind of primary oversight committee on a super complicated, thing that's got a lot of nuances, to it, and where really technical expertise, is valuable, and building all of that knowledge up and expecting that of you as one, commissioner in light of everything else you've got going on would be, I think, more than is reasonable. So I think the good news is I just don't think that was assigned to you in that way. And Courtney, I don't know if you've been able to pull up
I do have the language
okay.
on, and it says
Okay.
the department will provide quarterly updates to the Human Relations Commission on the ALPR program.
Okay. So, I mean, them updating you, I think, is more of a sign of respect for this organization and its interest in the subject, as opposed to expecting you to develop an expertise, in it and have formal oversight authority. I think they do have, and the police department is working on different kind of forms of oversight for various things that they work on. But I would put it in that category, reporting out to you for input, not the city or anyone else expecting you to become experts to monitor that program.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I in all honesty, like there's a level there, and there was a level of frustration on my end with all of this. I think that there's been two very large community issues that have been on our plates where the community has showed up. And one was the Columbus statue and one was ALPR. And I think that ALPR came on our plate and it was very quick, and there's still a lot of community frustration. And this whole conversation around data sharing and I'm going to use the word surveillance, but people get kind of triggered with that word. There's still this concern, and there still isn't a body that's independent and outside of the police department to look at all of this. And it seems to me, and I'm just going to be say what I feel like I'm noticing, is there has been it seems to be there's this avoidance around an oversight that's independent, and I understand why, because there's a high level of accountability that occurs. I think that I have a huge amount of concerns. I'm speaking right now around the models, around the boasting that is occurring around our drone program, and that models internationally are looking to us around this matter of policing. I've talked about public facial recognition data. I've talked about now these, and I think that the community has asked us to, hey, like, we're worried. And as a commission, I feel like responsible to continue to engage in this. So I think listening to quarterly and not seeing anything on there around independent oversight, it's still, to me, very ambiguous. I would like for us to stay in this and still continue. I know that there was public comment, and it spoke to the fact that a lot of community members that we are supposed to be in alliance with, and organizations, coalitions, are still not happy about this situation. And so I think that right now I'm not sure where to move forward with all of it. But what I'm going to say is that I feel strongly that there needs to be some kind of accountability body that is outside the police department, and it shouldn't be us. And so I don't know if there's some kind of motion or how the minutes need to get to council, but that's kind of where I'm what I'm feeling right now at this point, and I need that message somehow needs to get to council, that I don't mind listening to presentations, but the level of the technical, the expertise that is involved in all of this is very beyond. And I would feel like I just don't have the capacity to be preparing for these presentations and to be able to offer good suggestions, critiques, and ask questions that are related to all of this. So I feel like I'm repeating myself.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Medina. I also feel, as you were speaking, I also feel, because we don't currently have something in place at the city, or at least, at the moment for that oversight, not saying that we should, sort of take that on ourselves, but the fact that, there's nothing else, or no other body within the city that's sort of keeping tabs on this, with, connected to the community. Like, I almost feel like that's an argument, and I know you're not saying, to not hear them, but you're arguing for this and a body that can do an independent assessment of what is actually happening and make appropriate recommendations. I do think, though, that, even if we, aren't yet quite equipped to make those assessments, I would rather, to your point, like, keep an eye on what's happening to some level, make, with the quarterly presentations to our commission. And it's sort of a way to track it. At least it's still a way where community members, feel like they've got a place. And then, we can, be able to advise or recommend to council as you're doing with what you're saying. But at least there's a place for it until this gets figured out. I agree with you. I think we should definitely continue to push for the council and the mayor to think about an independent oversight body. But if at the moment they don't have anything, we'll at least be here, to hold it, so that it's somewhere. Commissioner Ratner.
So my understanding is anyway that part of the proposal was that the HRC was supposed to be getting the quarterly reports. So that's my understanding, that we are to receive them. What to do with them is a different story, but it seems the best approach would be to pursue an independent body. But as of this point, it seems that we were named as the commission to receive the reports.
Can we begin to make that recommendation now, or do we have to wait? Because I do think that it gives us an opening, right? By the reports coming to us, it gives us an opening to, if we hear anything, continue to ask for the council, advise the council to take this on. But in the meantime, do we have the ability to do that now as a commission?
Lou?
Sorry, Glenn and I have been working on trying to get the minutes resolution from the meeting, and hopefully we'll have it in the next couple minutes. Our clerk's looking for it. So let me make sure I understand this, since we were multitasking. Does the commission have the ability to make a recommendation from the way the staff item is agendized today to recommend an independent body for oversight?
Yes.
Yeah, and the answer to that, I think, is no. I do think, Commissioner, you make, Chairperson Martinez Montes, I think you do make a good point about this giving you a forum for hearing the information and providing not only feedback to the police, but a potential basis for a recommendation to, the council for something more specific beyond, the role currently designated to you to, be reported out to and to provide feedback. And so if you would like, you could certainly at this meeting ask that when the quarterly report does come back to you, or sooner, I'm not sure when that next report would be, that an item be agendized for you to take such an action, to recommend that, sooner rather than later, some more formal oversight body be created for the purpose that you're describing. I do think that was, again, we're struggling to get the minutes resolution now. I do think there was an element of what City Council did, but that doesn't mean you can't either reinforce that or give your own opinions about how you think that ought to work.
Got it. Thank you. Commissioner Baber?
Yeah, I mean, I have a thought about the composition of such an independent body. Why not a group of academics who have expertise, including expertise in the technical issues involved, including expertise in political matters, political science, lawyers and whatnot, because there are a lot of universities and a lot of experts. And it seems like what you need is somebody that can show genuine credentialed expertise to form an independent body.
Yeah, so I think, we, at least from the discussion, we're sort of moving in that direction. So I like the idea of maybe not during, the next meeting, but maybe during the next quarterly meeting, unless, you all think something different, where it gives us the ability to make a different recommendation or create a recommendation. Commissioner Medina?
I'm okay with that. I think that all of this can be voiced, and but I think us getting on this page, I also feel like we need to create structures that it's not about Chief Kennedy. It's about creating these structures so that there's a healthy process in life. Let's just hypothetically say that we were to get some kind of nightmare chief, nightmare maybe individuals within council, and all of a sudden, right, and there's no oversight, right, and things just continue to, and so I think an oversight is a healthy process that's going to allow. So, but I am definitely for us being engaged with that quarterly. I'm hoping it's sooner than later, so we can all start to get a feel for what does that quarterly feel like, and then right then and there being able to make those suggestions.
Yeah, I hear that. Because we have the Know Your Rights coming up on policing, and it's slightly different, so maybe it's not done together, but could we have, I know the ACLU has done a lot of work around surveillance and these issues, so I wonder if there's an opportunity for us to bring in between, while we wait for the ALPR, to bring in the expertise to kind of help us better understand what some of those concerns are, so that when we hear that presentation from the police department, we've got sort of an understanding of what the concerns are, and it helps inform ultimately our decision when that comes back to frame the resolution or the recommendations that we make to council. So maybe we consider that, Commissioner Branch, as you're thinking about that, or maybe we do independent research to kind of bring that level of expertise to to help us think through this a bit more.
Well, I definitely agree that if the group, like say the ACLU, has some expertise that they can share with us, that we could seek that and either include it in our the event we've already scheduled, or plan that for another month, another meeting.
Yeah. Or it could be part of the theme for for next month's meeting.
Right.
Okay. Commissioner
Ratner?
go ahead. Redner, yes. It's getting late.
I wasn't sure. Me or Godinez, whoever was first, I don't know.
I saw Commissioner.
Because I can't see anybody else raising their hand. So who did you want to acknowledge?
Go ahead.
Me? Okay, so should that be something that we can solicit a presentation at our next meeting from a group that has more information, that has a PowerPoint presentation that they could share with the ACLU as being part of their group? Is that something that can be put on the agenda?
Yeah, I think that's part of the discussion here. Yeah, I think that absolutely can be.
All right, so then we'll have to see who the procedure for getting who would present about it. How does one go about that?
If you all have suggestions, let us know. Courtney and I can help Courtney and Commissioner Commissioner Branch to yes.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Just a suggestion. If one of you are interested, or if you are interested in potentially having the ACLU, if they have that expertise, present, to the extent we're already going to be reaching out to them to see if they're available to be part of the Know Your Rights, presentation for your June meeting. I can certainly make a parallel inquiry as to whether or not that same person or someone else from that organization could have some information to share with you next month on the issue of police technologies and information gathering and Alpr and other things as well. So I'd be happy to at least make that inquiry.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Thank you.
Very good. So and then when we find that out, Madam Chair, we'll follow up with you to see if you think that's appropriate and right and makes sense.
Okay. That sounds good. Does that feel good for all of you?
I'm sorry. What was that? What was the last recommendation by Glenn?
He would be, as they're doing outreach to the ACLU on the Know Your Rights presentations, that this would be a request as they're making contact to make sure that they're bringing both of those things to us next meeting.
Yeah, maybe we can collect some names and as well and offer them up to you all around just making sure that we have that we're getting the right info or the info we need. So, but absolutely. So I'm okay with also just putting forth some names as well that are also other contacts that we could utilize.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, so if there's no other comment, I think this is a good place to stop and open up for 2 minutes to allow for public comment to submit any final comments on the item before full commission deliberation. As a reminder, commissioners, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear.
2 minutes, all right?
The commenting period for this item is now closed. Have commissioners had enough time to read any comments submitted? Secretary Ladron de Guevara, would you please announce for the record the number of comments received in favor or opposition?
There were 2 comments received from the same individual.
And this was the item that was emailed to us as well?
Yes, email and then an e-comment as well.
Okay, thank you very much. So if there's no other final comment on this item, I think we'll move to other business. So we'll move into staff comments.
I have no comments. Thank you for your time this evening. And as a reminder, we have a special meeting after this meeting.
Okay, and chair comments, I'll make them quick. I just want to, thank all of those who submitted comments today and continue to follow our commission, even with the, with the limitations. And then I also want to give a shout out to Commissioner Medina for really taking the lead on the work done to remove the statue of Christopher Columbus and really tracking and keeping track and navigating the relationships with our tribal communities, with everybody who showed up on Tuesday. This was meaningful work, and I think it means a lot. We've had Chairwoman Angela Elliott Santos present. We had chair from the Manzanita tribe. We had a chairwoman from the Hamul Indian Village as well, Chairwoman Erica Pinto. So just thank you, Commissioner Medina, for taking the lead on that and putting together the presentation. I know it was a lot of work, and it shows. So just wanted to thank you for that. So I'll open it up for commissioner comments. Commissioner.
I had planned to say that almost the exact same comments that you made. I just wanted to thank Commissioner Medina for all the work he did in organizing that presentation on Tuesday and the PowerPoint and inviting the speakers. But basically what you said, I wanted to just thank you for that work.
Any other commissioner comments? And thank you all who came on Tuesday as well to support. No? No comments? Okay.
I also would like to thank Commissioner Medina. I mean, it's a lot of work, right? I mean, but he has a full-time job, and it's real tough. But this is the advocacy. This is what we've all been tasked to do. And Ricardo's, there's subjects that come up, and some of them hit us in the heart, and we're in the position to make a difference. And Ricardo, thank you for that. Appreciate that, and all the other commissioners as well. Thank you.
Okay, so if there's no other commissioner comments, it is, what time is it? 8:36, and I'd like to adjourn this meeting to the next regular meeting of the Human Relations Commission on June 24th.
I'm going to stop you there because we've added a special meeting right after this one. So we will adjourn to our next special meeting right now.
Right. Okay. Do we stop the clock and restart it, or do we just keep going?
In your discretion, Madam Chair, you could take a break. You could just keep going. We should go through the same procedures, though, to call roll, to commence the new meeting.
Okay. Are you all okay with keep going? Okay. So I'd like to call.
I was told, sorry, I was told by the clerks to just stop the recording and then restart it so I can
Okay.
generate a whole nother video. So I'll do that right now as well.
Okay. So we'll give you a minute to do that.